constitutional order in Africa's democracy, and our case study tonight is Niger versus ECOWAS.
Yes, as a matter of fact, defining a constitution in the first place is a document established by a government to run, moderate, and direct the activities of a nation. Either it is a bloc, which is like ECOWAS, or like CEMAC, or a nation like Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, or Uganda. In this case, we are talking about constitutional honor with respect to the ECOWAS bloc. ECOWAS has in its constitution enshrined interdependence towards member states, non-aggression. That's what I want to lay emphasis on. They are the ones who stipulated in the article of the ECOWAS that there's non-aggression amongst member states, which means, in other words, they are going to be deliberating issues and coming on a dialogue table to settle scores, because ECOWAS should be joining forces to fight against any external force, not fighting against each other. So what we are experiencing right now in Niger with Burkina Faso, and then they say ECOWAS, I begin to wondering, what is ECOWAS fighting? Because ECOWAS is fighting against itself. Burkina Faso is part of ECOWAS. Niger is part of ECOWAS. Mali is part of ECOWAS. Guinea-Conakry is part of ECOWAS. Then they say ECOWAS is fighting Burkina Faso. Is it not a medical term that is called multiple sclerosis, where the cells that were destined to protect the system of the body have received a wrong information? They are now fighting against each other. It is called multiple sclerosis. That is what West Africa is experiencing right now, because for ECOWAS to be called ECOWAS in the absence of Mali is no longer ECOWAS. For it to be called ECOWAS in the absence of Burkina Faso is no longer ECOWAS.
But there are clauses binding those countries.
That is why I'm letting you understand.
You lose your membership.
They have not lost membership. That's the first thing we have to understand here. ECOWAS has not dismissed Niger, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Conakry, or Mali. They are still members. So when they say ECOWAS is fighting against Guinea, or fighting against Mali or Niger, what is ECOWAS fighting? ECOWAS is fighting against itself. And now, part of the constitution of ECOWAS, it is enshrined there non-aggression against member states. Number two, interdependence towards member states. And there's supposed to be a collaboration in the regional bloc. Now, if at all Niger has gone beyond the constitution of one of the clauses by, how do I put it, taking power in a military coup, which is against the constitution of ECOWAS, and they say they are restoring constitutional order, then I think it's supposed to start from everywhere. Niger is not the first country that conducted a coup d'etat in West Africa. Guinea-Conakry started it. Then later on, Mali. Then they moved to Burkina Faso. Why interest in Niger?
That's the question I was about to ask you. Why is the case of Niger so special?
That tells you that something. They say when you see a bird dancing by the roadside, somebody is playing the drum within the bush. If you see what is happening with the case of Niger, it means someone's interest has been touched. That tells us that ECOWAS is no longer economic community of West African states. It's European control of West Africa. European control of West African states.
This is serious. What do you
yes,
say?
We should give it another acronym. We should give another description. We should give another presentation. It's not economic community of West African states, is European control of West African states. That tells you that something is happening from behind the scenes that is influencing what is happening on ground. Because if ECOWAS truly is respecting constitutional order, then automatically we're supposed to have started executing that on the rest of the countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, as well as Guinea-Conakry, that came to power unjustly through a coup d'etat. So what are they respecting? Why did they choose to invade Niger in particular? Why did they not invade Burkina Faso? Why didn't they invade Mali or Guinea-Conakry? They are insisting on Niger. It's because the interest of those who control that bloc is at stake. Secondly, it is dangerous to find out how organizations in Africa who are sponsored from Europe. But most of the body that sponsors ECOWAS is not come from the ECOWAS countries. The same with AU. All these so-called blocks in Africa that are put here and there are all blocks stationed by the Europeans to manage those different blocks in Africa. So if you are telling us that it's West African Economic and Monetary Union, that is French control. In Central Africa we have BEAC, Banque des États de l'Afrique Centrale. Those are all monetary unions that control the franc CFA in West Africa and in Central Africa, which is not controlled by Cameroon. How can Wyoming money be printed in France? How can BEAC money be printed in France? That tells you that these are just descriptions of certain blocks set up in Africa being controlled from outside. So it tells you that ECOWAS is European control of West African states. Let us stop beating around the bush, because it is very clear that if I thought they are respecting the constitution, then that constitution is supposed to raise battle or send forces to stand and man the borders of Mali, man the borders of Burkina Faso, and man that of Guinea-Conakry, not only Niger.
No, we are talking democracy. What happened in Niger? Should you still call that democracy?
What happened in Niger?
Yes.